Hi, I'm Suzie. Many of you have been asking me about cornstarch nails. Well, let's see what kind of nails we can make with cornstarch. Let's get started. So I was noticing how some YouTubers are putting a tip and then putting the cornstarch in. That's how we're going to do the first nail. The second nail, I'm going to form it and build it out. So I've got a nail prepped and prepared. I've already filed it, just given it a light file. There's no primer because you wouldn't have that at home, but I do have a tip and I've got some glue. So I've got some nail adhesive and I've got my tip. I've already sized the tip and it's got a bit of a well in it, and that's what we're going to do. Actually, I usually put the glue right on my finger, but when you are putting a tip on, just a tip for a tip, make sure that you've got it in the spot that you want. You got to pre-fit it and then you put the glue on and then you put it down, okay? So I'm going to put it right about there. My natural nails have a bit of a slope to it. They don't go straight, so it's going to have a little bit of a slope. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and I find little bit of glue. Don't put a lot of glue. When you're using tips, if you use too much, oddly enough, it doesn't work. But when you put it on, kind of press it into it a little bit and press your nail down a little bit. Give it a good press. Now, when you're working with glue, make sure you clean it off and close it up right away, because when you go to use it again, it won't work. Very frustrating. Okay, so I've got this on here. Now I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. So if you were doing this professionally, you would have tip cutters, and they are the best because they're curved to fit the curve. So when you're using scissors, you're actually bending it a little bit on the natural nail to pop up a little bit, and that's not really a good idea. But I'm going to assume you won't have one of these, so I'm going to do it. Just going to cut it with these little scissors. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but it did flatten out a little bit. As a professional, I do understand structure, so I don't want this nail too long. If it's going to be too long and hung on by cornstarch, it's not going to be very strong. So I really don't want that too long. So now we have a bit of a ledge, and that is why, I presume, why someone came up with the idea with cornstarch, because if you go to a professional salon, they're going to backfill this in with gel or acrylic, and it's very strong and it's going to hold. So someone got the idea of maybe using cornstarch to blend it, right? But we have to just file this out a little bit. So we want to take a file and just gently, you don't really want to file the natural nail too much here at all. You're just sort of filing the tip a little bit to give it a little bit of a smoother transition to the natural nail bed. I've glued this to my natural nail and removed all the acrylic on there because you don't want any substance on there when you're putting a tip on there. So now I'm just filing it down. Now I will tell you that this area, when you are a professional, you're taught right from the beginning, this area in here is the stress point. That has to be at its strongest. So us nail technicians, when we're building, we really focus on that. That is the art of this. So let's see how the cornstarch goes on. So I've got mine in a sifter. I thought we would sift it on. It might be a little bit easier. So I'm just going to get a bottle of clear nail polish. That's what they're mixing with the cornstarch. Now, nail polish in itself is not strong enough to build a nail. I'm not so sure this is either, but we're going to try it. So we're going to put the top coat. So what I noticed was some of the YouTubers were just putting it in the center. And the reason why they're doing that is they're trying to cover up that seam. Let's call it a seam, right? So let's start it right there. And then we'll do the full one in a sec. Now, because I put it in a sifter, I just thought it'd be easier than dipping. Don't know if that's true or not. But sometimes I think it mushes the nail polish. It would move the nail polish because it's still very wet. I see them just clicking off as much as they can, trying to get it off. Now, I notice some of them are just brushing it right away, but the nail polish might still be wet. Oh, you know what? It's not so bad. So I'm just going to buff that away. So they were doing a second coat right away. Some were doing like 3 and 4 coats, but let's see what it takes. This coat I'm going to put on the whole nail. I'm trying to make this look as seamless as possible, because that's what this is creating, is seam. And you're trying to avoid this seam That's what the whole idea of the cornstarch nails got started, I presume, is because they're trying to eliminate that seam. No, that's the whole idea. You want to make it look really pretty. You want that cornstarch to set right in there. I'm going to just gently press it in there to get a little bit more. Okay. I'm just gonna lightly dust it away. Okay. I don't know if it needs much dry time in between. I would imagine that it's absorbing the cornstarch and you really kind of don't need to. You gotta have a really light touch though. When you're doing this, it's a super light touch. So just gonna give it a second. A little bit of cold air on there. Okay, let's do another coat. It's looking pretty seamless. I'm gonna float it, the polish right on top. I'm not gonna pull. Make sure that you do your cuticle area very smooth. Okay, let's give it another little dusting. It's kind of a messy procedure, isn't it? Oh! It's very professional. Okay. Now that was 3 coats, wasn't it? Like one little half coat and then the 3rd coat. I think I made that look pretty seamless. Okay, so that was 3. I'm gonna do 4 because I wanna give it as much strength as possible. Okay, I'm gonna do another layer. Every time you add another layer though, it's gonna take a little longer to dry. Make sure you don't get any around the cuticle. If you do, swipe it away because you don't want the cornstarch to settle in there. That would be icky, as with anything, right? Don't want it to settle in there. Okay, so let's... I wonder why they didn't pick flour or like super fine sugar or salt. I don't know why they just picked cornstarch. Maybe that's all they had in the cupboard when they invented this. Okay, now the common sense thing would be to do, I'd have to wait now for all these layers to dry. So we're gonna wait. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab any form I have. If you don't have a form, I just released a video on how to make your own. So what my idea was behind this was, if cornstarch nails are so strong, then we should be able to build it out, right? So let's try it. So we're not gonna do this with a tip. We're actually gonna build it out. So the same procedure we're using with the top coat nail polish and the cornstarch that we're using for strength across the structure and the strength part of the nail, we're gonna use it to build out a whole nail. So I'm gonna put this nail polish on the whole thing. And just like I'm extending it out, just gonna give it some thickness in here. Okay, and then we're gonna dust my cornstarch all over that nail. I think the dusting just makes it a little bit more even, that's all. I'm not saying you have to do it. I think it just makes it more even. Okay, so again, move this thing in my way. We're just gently going to buff it like that. Now let's add some more. Okay, so let's put on some more nail polish. Remember, we're using the nail polish as the strength and the shaping, right? We're trying to build a nail. I will say, I feel like I'm getting it in my throat a little because it's airborne, right? So I feel like it needs to dry a little bit in between before I continue, just because I think I'm going to pull those layers. I'm not going to wipe it away so much. I'm just going to leave that, because if that cornstarch is supposed to be there for structure, once it gets saturatedly wet with the nail polish, it should just meld right in there. Okay. Now you can see that dip there. It can take a lot to build a structure for a nail. You've got to have that structure. I gotta be honest with you, I can actually feel the dust in the air getting in my throat. I wouldn't want to work in this all the time, I'll tell you that. You know, I did see one YouTuber actually mix the cornstarch with the nail polish. So let's do that for some of the structure part in here. Oh, you know what? These are great little tools. I got myself a little scoop. So I'm going to take a little bit of cornstarch and I'm going to take some nail polish. And I'm going to mix these guys together and create a little paste. I'm just going to do whatever I think might be a good consistency to get some structure on this bad boy. It's a nice little paste. It's still a moving paste, but let's check it out. So I'm going to pick up this paste. I'm going to put it, it's a pretty color. Now I'm trying to build that structure point there, right? Wow, it's actually a really pretty color. I like it. I mean, really covered in that structure. I mean, sure, you can get stuff and you can build a nail out of, I guess, anything, right? But is it going to be strong? I mean, you can get any product and start building with it, but if you don't have the knowledge behind the structure that you're building, then you're missing a lot of the points about building a nail. So I'm showing you the cornstarch, but I'm also showing you the structure that's needed. Now we do need more on this for structure, because if you look at it sideways, see how it's supposed to look with an arch? We don't have that here. I'm going to put another layer. I don't know how many I've done so far, but I'm building, so I don't really care about how many. I just need to make sure that this is going to be sound, right? Be a happy built out nail. Let's get another bunch of cornstarch on there. Sift it on. You can dip it. I mean, there's no protocol for this at all, right? We're winging it. I'm just sifting it. I know everybody else is dipping it. I'm just sifting it because I didn't want to dent the polish, because I know the polish is still going to be wet. That's the only reason why I'm doing that. I just thought it'd be a little bit nicer. You got to bang it pretty hard to get the excess off. There we go. But you can see I haven't hit it or anything, but yet the nail polish is falling, because nail polish is not meant to be holding as a structure. It's just not meant for this, but we're going to give it a good go. This side looks better. I'm going to do one more. Boy, this is going to take a long time to dry. I'm actually going to time it because I really want to know how long it's going to take to dry. Okay, let's do the stuff again. Buff it off a little. I'm going to totally wait for this to dry. But you know, I'm going to cheat a little and I'm going to move it a little. Get it right back in that spot. Maybe because I mixed it, it was a little bit heavy. So I'll give it that. I think this is going to take a long time to dry. I'm going to make this an almond. If I'm able to make it anything. Okay, start the clock. This is dry. It took about 8 minutes for this one to dry. Now my build out is still a bit soft, but it's rather thick because we're making a build with it, right? So let's file this guy. I am going to make it a bit of an almond shape. I should have cut it that way first, but I didn't. When you do an almond, you just take off that corner. Oh, I can smell the plastic. There's a very distinct smell that comes from filing tips. You could always tell when a client had tips on, just the way it looked for one. You can tell sometimes underneath, but also the smell, that familiar plastic smell. Now, I don't know if you remember me saying in the beginning, I did make this short because in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be strong enough. We sort of understand in the industry, when you take gel polish or nail polish or acrylic and you add things to it, like sometimes people will add glitter to acrylic, that makes it so it doesn't cure as good. The company who made it didn't make it with glitters in it. That's why if you're going to buy acrylic, you should buy it with glitter in it because they made it that way. It cures properly that way. So when we add stuff, we're always a little skeptical whether it's going to actually cure or not. Same with gel polish. If you did this with like a gel, when you add stuff to it, you do compromise the integrity of the curing process. Okay, looks like we've got a bit of an almond on there now. So that's why I didn't want to go too long because I'm skeptical whether this is going to be able to hold up or not. It's a little bit wobbly as I'm filing it here. So now we want to go over top of it just with a smoother file. And we're just going to file it out a little bit. Now, do you see this line across here? That's where the powder is settling in there unevenly. You certainly wouldn't want to be able to put a sheer pink or something on this because you would be able to see the different colorations of the cornstarch settling in odd spots. It's not very even. I feel like I don't want to fuss with it too much because it feels very flimsy. I'm used to the strength of acrylic. I don't want to knock that guy off. Now I built it just the way that I saw it being presented on YouTube, so I could see how it was working. And you can see it's quite flat. There is no arch. Like if you compare these two together, there's a reason for that arch. That arch is specifically put in there for strength. I mean, if your natural nails wouldn't break because it's so flat like that and didn't have an arch, then there would be no need for acrylic. The reason why we have to arch them up a little bit is to make them strong so they don't break. I mean, our natural nails don't suffice because they're not built like that. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Great, let's put a little oil on there, just like I would with acrylic. You can use baby oil, even olive oil. And I'm just going to put a dab on there and massage it in nicely, just as I would if I was doing the acrylic or gel. Just puts all the natural oils back into it. Okay, you put polish on there, that's gonna look pretty good. Okay, now the build out. Still kind of soft. I don't think it'll ever cure. I'm listening for that. I'm listening for that hardened sound of acrylic. I'm not going to get that. Probably never going to get that. So let's gently take this form off. Now it is dry. So the whole idea of me doing this was, haha, look at that. Look at that. It's just not happy. So the reason why I was doing that at all was to show you that the strength is just not in cornstarch. I suspected that. I was hoping that it would work, but the strength is just not in the cornstarch to be able to sustain any type of length whatsoever. It won't harden because it's not a hard product. I mean, look at it. It's like flour. And we're mixing it with nail polish. Nail polish is not a hardener. If nail polish was a hardener, we would all just put nail polish on it and our nails would grow super long. But it's not designed for that. So this is exactly what I actually thought I was going to get it off there and actually be able to shape it. But I didn't even think it would go that bad. So you can see what's happening. It's this little paste under here never really did cure. And I don't think it really would because it was super, super thick. And it has to be thick to a degree to be able to get it on there, to be able to build a nail, right? So I could have applied thin layer and cornstarch and let it dry completely. Thin layer, cornstarch, and let it dry completely. And then the stress layer, let it dry completely. However, that would take forever. I haven't got that kind of time. I'm sure you don't either. This was a fun experiment, and I was so hoping that I really thought I could build a nail out of that. I don't know why I did, but I just thought for fun it would be. So that's clearly not going to work as a build. You can see that it's just not curing properly. So even if you did it in thin layers and let it dry in between, you're still going to end up with a nail that's not very strong at all. It's cornstarch. It's meant for graving. This nail here actually looks quite pretty. I'm going to polish it and show you guys how much it does look quite good. You know, when you're building a nail, it is about product. Product is super important, but it's so much about the skill. I can give a product to 100 people who have never worked product. They will make a terrible, terrible nail. But I can give product to good nail technicians and they will build a beautiful, strong nail. And it will probably hold out as good as the product is. But you give good product to good nail technicians, you're going to end up with an amazing, strong nail. And I know we're looking for a cheat and a hack. I get it. Everybody's trying to save a buck, eh? And it's hard to find good nail technicians. So I get why you're trying to do this yourself. So let's just get some polish on there. And today I'm using the Jessica Phenom. And its number is, it's got a name, Wildest Dreams. It's very pretty. I just thought it'd be pretty. Nice mauve color. But let's paint this on and see how smooth it is. That's the whole ticket. I really want to see it smooth. So when I was doing this, I was trying to make it a smooth transition with the seam between the tip and the cornstarch of my natural nail. Seamless. That's what we're all trying to get. The cornstarch, we want it to look seamless in anything that we do. So let's see. The nail polish will tell us how seamless it is. So I'm going to let that dry for just a tiny little bit. I'm going to put another layer on. And you can see it is seamless. It looks really pretty. And again, I did do this very short because this is not going to be for any type of strength whatsoever. As a matter of fact, that nail is pretty flimsy as it is. Okay. And again, I want you to see that structure. That's super important. Okay, all in all, we made a really pretty little nail. Now I will say it is cornstarch we're playing with, but the tip is on there. That's made of plastic. That is what's giving it its shape and making it look strong on the end there. But in the center here, where the stress point really matters, even with the glue in there, the glue is only to adhere the tip. It's not to be able to handle any type of stress whatsoever. That's why when we glue a tip onto the natural nail, we build it up with the stress in mind with acrylic or gel. Those are really strong products. Also, too, my little concern too, I'm not a scientist, but when I am filing, this now cornstarch has become airborne. This is an extremely fine powder. That is really fine. It's finer than acrylic. And finer powders are a little more airborne. And when you're breathing it in, certain masks won't stop fine powders like that. So if you're playing with cornstarch, I'd be very concerned when you're filing about the small airborne particles of cornstarch. That's not a good idea. All in all, it looks actually rather pretty. Let's take some reveal shots. So I know we're having fun here and playing with cornstarch, but as a professional opinion, I do not recommend cornstarch as a replacement for acrylic or hard gel at all. I would definitely go the professional route. This is not a replacement for professional nails. But I had fun playing with it, and it does look pretty. I think if you have the skills, you can make it look pretty. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.